Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Prime Sports World. We got a very special episode for you guys. It's our first ever top 25 NFL Draft Big Board presented by Prime Sports World. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point, right there to analyze my picks for my top 25 players. Mr. TJ Hopkins, and tell me how much I suck at this. Maybe he won't say that. He'd probably be a lot nicer about it. But if you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, YouTube, and this episode's going out to the Twitch platform, Prime Sports World, pretty good place to be. Go live 7 times a week, bringing the most up-to-date content. Also want to thank our friends over there for sponsoring us here at Prime Sports World. Happy Tuesday, TJ, man. We were just saying, the weather here in Chicago, one day it'll be really nice. Like right now, it's 65 degrees and cloudy in Chicago. Over this weekend, it was fairly cold. Yeah, it's supposed to rain a bunch tomorrow. So something to look forward to. But yeah, hopefully you're getting over that cold, man. You start to feel a little bit better.
The sleep I had when I got off work was just fantastic. I took two aspirins and a NyQuil gel pill after I ate some food and took a shower. Like, bro, I was out like a light, man. Like, and I
I
woke
love
up.
those. I love those sleeps, like where you're just like completely out and like you're just dead to the world.
Yes, and I woke up about 5:30. Because I knew the play-in was tonight, and kind of wanted to wake up for that. So here I am.
Oh, glad to have you, man. Yeah, Brooklyn's doing some work right now, putting Cleveland away. So probably gonna play on Friday or was it Thursday? They're gonna play against tomorrow night. So let's go into my big board. Let's start with my first five prospects. So my number one prospect is Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. If you watched a lot of these shows, no surprise that he's my number one prospect when it comes to my big board. 6'4", 220. The dude is the hybrid Byron, the hybrid defender. The dude can really go. I'm not at all concerned about his combine because when you watch tape of the Kyle Hamilton, he's just incredible. My number two is Kayvon Thibodeau. He was the number one prospect coming into this season. Somehow everyone is soured on him based on some. I'm not even really sure, but the dude's a freak athlete, can really play. Evan Neal, one of the better offensive lineman prospects in this draft. He can play all over the place. He's played virtually every offensive position outside of center. He
Uh-huh.
has versatility. Aiden Hutchinson, I dropped him a little
Uh-huh.
bit because I am a little bit concerned about his arm length, but I think he will be a very good player in the National Football League. I just think the three
Uh-huh.
guys I have above him are locks to be better. And then I
Uh-huh.
got Ike Ekwonu out of NC State tackle. Should be the most dominant run blocking tackle in this particular draft class. The dude is a massive.
Uh-huh. Okay, so yeah, issue number one is I like Kyle Hamilton, I really do, but he's not number one. Like the way, like the shot, the name of the game is pass blocking and rushing the passer. So any big board where a Kyle Hamilton, a DB, is number one is, I mean, I get it, it's your big board, so you can have
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton number one. That's
When it
great.
comes to the draft prospects that I'm sure are going to be good, like I have very little doubt that Kyle Hamilton's going to be a good NFL player. I think his ceiling, his floor is extremely high. Like when it comes to his draft stock, like I think Kyle Hamilton will be a good player no matter where he ends up. I have some questions about some of the other guys.
Well, you can have questions about. They all have questions. The most important question is, can you play the game? Right? I despise the people who, oh, his arms are too short, his hands are too small. That's stupid. Can you play the game? Right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
can you play the
we
game?
were watching 3 years of film on these guys, and you're gonna judge them based on one performance in a 40-yard draft, as opposed to what they've actually did on the national in a college
Can
games in
can,
actual live action.
can
It
you
doesn't make
play
any
the
sense.
like Aiden Hutchinson? Oh, his arms are too short. Didn't stop him from being a defensive player of the year candidate in college football,
Yeah,
where I'm pretty sure there were defenders with arms longer than his, hands bigger than his, and players taller than him.
yeah. I do think he has some of the Bosa. I don't think he's quite at that level, but he's right there. He's literally right underneath them, or underneath that level.
And that's who he's been compared to. He's been compared to not Joey Bosa, but Nick Bosa. He's been compared to not J.J. Watt, but T.J. Watt. because they see a lot of those two in him. And
What if anything that might have to do with that? Why they picked those particular players? I can't imagine.
so,
Anyways,
like Evan Neal has been, up and down people's draft boards. He's been high as number one. He's been as low as number, like right where you have him at 3. Um, Same thing
well,
with
he gives you so much versatility at the offensive tackle position. Like you can play him at right tackle, you can play him at left tackle. He's also played both guards. The only place he hasn't really played is center on the offensive lineman. I mean, if you're looking for a guy who's going to be smart and savvy and know how to play the game, Evan Neal is good an offensive lineman prospect you've had in a long time.
Like the only thing you have to worry about with Evan Neal is, yeah, he is a Nick Saban guy, and you just have to worry about his durability at this point because it's a blessing and a curse plan for Nick Saban. Like, yeah, you're gonna win a lot. But if he's in a position like if you're like Evan Neal, I think you're good because Alabama offensive lines have been deep for
Yeah, I mean
long time.
They have a first round offensive lineman like every draft.
So he's not. So the durability on his part is probably not that much of a concern because he probably had to sit maybe
He only
or
played
two.
one season left tackle in college. He sat behind Alex Leatherwood for like I think it was
Yeah, so he's good. Ike Ekwanwu, same thing. Well, I think was he a 4-year starter? Ekwanwu?
hold on.
And Kayvon Thibodeau, the only thing you have to worry about him is at this stage is durability, right? You weren't healthy in college. That usually translates to you not being healthy at the NFL. Like, it's different if you just sat out last season, like you didn't play any games. But there were moments where Kayvon Thibodeau played, got hurt, got healthy, played again, and then got hurt again. And I think the second time he got hurt, he just sat out and said, like, you know what, I'm done. I'm just going to start prepping for the NFL.
Which I can't really blame him for, right?
No, you can't. I will never blame a college player for choosing his best interest. So we talked about this like years ago on the Triangle. Like when players, like people get mad at college athletes for sitting out bowl games, especially if they have a shot at the NFL. Like, no, I don't care about that. I'm going to make millions.
Think about how Matt Corral feels about that conversation right now.
So
his draft stock is gone in the toilet since he got hurt.
So
he's not even going to be a first round pick.
Matt Corral, he might be a he might be a first round pick.
I think he's gotten jumped by Sam Howell. I think Desmond Ritter is going to get taken before him at this point.
Matt Corral is probably going to be it's still probably going to be a first round pick.
I would bet money on it. Let's move on to my next 5 players on my big board. I got Sauce Gardner, Trayvon Walker, the edge out of Georgia, Charles Cross, tackle out of Mississippi State, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, Ohio State, Jermaine Johnson, edge out of Florida State. You know how many passes were completed? How many touchdowns were completed against Sauce Gardner in his college career, despite being a 4-year starter and starting freshman? 0.
1.
Did not allow a single touchdown in his career. Not a one. He only allowed, so in 14 games last season, he only allowed 131 yards receiving. The dude is number 1 corner. He is a show, like a show. Trayvon Walker,
that is
the versatility playmaker, can line up both positions. The dude can really play. Charles Cross, big, powerful upper body, strong hands, be nasty aspect of blocking. Garrett Wilson, the dude is just awesome. He's got natural separation, the best in the class. He also produced at a high level from the slot and from the outside, playing 73% slot in 2020 and 82% from the outside in 2021. Jermaine Johnson, freakish quality. The dude is a freak athlete. And those guys kind of tend to fly up draft.
Yeah, Charles Cross is the offensive lineman that's not getting talked about right now because he's behind Evan Neal and Ike Ekwanwu. He is offensive lineman number 3 in this draft, right? Especially in the top 10. Sauce Gardner is he's DB1, and it's not close. You can use the level of competition that Cincinnati played against
Zero
him all you
touchdowns
want,
in 4 years.
but zero touchdowns is zero touchdowns in 4
He
years.
wasn't.
As
He
a
wasn't
4-year
burned
starter.
on literally like while he was guarding a player in college. That person did not score a touchdown for 4 years. And I also
No.
understand that he probably didn't have a NFL caliber corner on the other side, so teams just generally threw away from him. But
Well,
zero is
that's
still zero.
zero is still zero, and you can say you can make the argument that what do you consider like top tier comp? Okay, so they played. I'm trying to think of all the games they played. They played Notre Dame. They beat Notre Dame in South Bend. Right? Notre Dame has NFL quality players, so that's one win against what you would consider top tier real talent. Then you played. Did they play Georgia? Who did they play? No, they played Bama. They played Bama, and obviously they lost that game, but that's because Alabama top to bottom is better.
I mean, they
than...
have a roster full of NFL players. Like
Exactly.
there's only so much you can do. The fact that they made it into that play-in game, that playoff, was a miracle.
Like Cincinnati has 2, maybe 3 NFL quality dudes: Desmond Ritter, Sauce Gardner, and maybe the running back Jerome Ford, versus Alabama, who their starting line, if they were all draft eligible, would be going to the NFL.
Their quarterback's going to be a top 5 pick next season.
Season, Will Anderson Jr. is probably the number 1 pick overall next season.
Yeah, yep. And then, I mean, they got running backs, they got linebackers. I mean, if you go to Alabama, the chance of you ending up in the National Football League is pretty high.
Like, that's the goal. Like, football players go to Alabama like the same way basketball players used to go to Kentucky back in the day. Sauce Gardner is DB1. Right, you can make the like you can't use the competition argument against him because Cincinnati is still D1. 0 touchdowns is 0 touchdowns, and most importantly, he was a 4-year starter. 4. That means when he was 18 years old to the time he was 22, he was the best corner for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Trayvon Walker, edge rusher out of Georgia.
Killed it at the combine. Those combine numbers have come out. He basically has been a top 10.
So that's guys like him. That's where you separate yourself from not only just guys on your team, but the rest of the field, because it's so hard to stand out in programs like Alabama, programs like Georgia, because they're so deep.
I mean, they're right? On their defensive side of the football, they're going to have probably 4 guys that get drafted in the first round. N'Kobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, and obviously Trayvon Walker.
And did you say Jordan Davis, Big 99?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other, Quay Walker, is potentially somebody who could potentially find himself as a first-round pick too.
So and Garrett Wilson, come on, what more needs? Like, you put up numbers at a school that's had so many wide receivers that if Ohio State wanted to call themselves wide receiver U, they could, and no one could argue it.
Yep.
He put up numbers at a school where Terry McLaurin put up numbers, and Garrett Wilson's numbers were better.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that's saying something. So he's gonna be fine. It just depends on where he goes. If he has to go to a situation where the quarterback can get him the ball.
I'm working on a mock draft really right now that I'm going to unveil tomorrow. I have him going to the Jets.
To the Jets? That'll be fine, right? Like, that's...
No, I lied. I have him
going to...
the Commanders at 11.
That's also fine. No issue with that. I'm sick of the Carson Wentz slander anyway. Y'all talking like this dude was a bum. Like, again, this is a guy
he was going to win the MVP.
Right, this is a guy who's an MVP if he don't tear his ACL.
And then Jermaine Johnson, the guy is just, he's got all the intangibles, 6'5", 254. Like, he's got the athletic ability that you look for out of an edge rusher in the National Football League.
I think this collection, your 6 through 10, is better than your 1 through 5 in terms of how you have them ranked. If
Okay.
you was to move, no, like if you was to move Sauce Gardner into the top 5, I wouldn't have an issue with that at all. That's just like seriously, like if you was to switch Sauce Gardner, like move Ekwanwu up, drop Cal Hamilton to like 4, and then put Sauce Gardner at 5, I have no issue with that at all. Like,
Okay. Well, moving on from there, we got 11 through 15. We got Derek Stingley Jr., quarterback out of LSU. Devin Lloyd, linebacker, Utah. Kyle Lindenbaum, center out of Iowa. Drake London, wide receiver, USC. They got Jordan Davis, my defensive tackle out of Georgia. Jordan
this
Davis,
boy.
his combine spoke for itself. That's why he's Drake London led in college football in all of contested catches before he got hurt, before he broke his ankle. He also was like on a pace that was like absurd before he got hurt. 88 catches for 100, over 1,000 yards, and 7 scores in 8 games, which is like unheard of, like productivity. Tyler Lindenbaum is the best center in this draft, and this guy will be a Pro Bowler before it's all said and done. He won't be drafted at 13. He won't. My most latest mock draft actually has him flipping out of the first round because people just don't take centers super early. But Tyler Lindenbaum has talent to be top prospect in the draft. Devin Lloyd, not concerned at all about his combine. When he was on the football field, he was the best sideline to sideline linebacker in the draft. And Derek Stingley Jr., one of the most dynamic quarterback prospects
Excuse me.
pedigree. If we're talking about the Derek Stingley Jr. that showed up 2 years ago and was like the best corner on a team that went to the national championship, Derek Stingley is the first corner off the board. He's dealt with some injuries. He's dealt with some play. So I think that's where he slipped up. But he's still super talented, and any team would be lucky.
Yeah, I know Derek Stingley. He's had some injuries over, like, what would you say, like the last 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he hasn't played. I mean, but also, I mean that those teams haven't really been playing for anything. Like they've stunk. And how your motivation when you know you're going to be a top 10 pick, top 15 pick, can't be the same as if like, hey, I'm just kind of gonna go through the motions. I know this team isn't all that good. I'm going to reserve. I'm going to protect myself in my draft stock so I don't get hurt because I'll go all out when we're going to win a national championship. That's fine. But if we're not in that kind of running, we're not in that kind of conversation. Like I'm going to protect
Right.
my future investment, which is myself.
And I think Devin Lloyd, he had an injury issue too, didn't he? Or he just scored bad at the combine.
He just didn't perform well at the combine. But when you
Okay.
watch tape of Devin Lloyd and watch tape of Utah, he's super talented. Like he goes sideline to sideline. The dude can really play.
Yeah, that's again, get out of that notion. Like they need to get out of it. Oh, he scored bad at the combine, so therefore his draft stock is low. Like no, I take more value in what you did wearing shoulder pads and a helmet versus you running in a t-shirt and it's not even a t-shirt anymore. It's like one big ass spandex uniform.
Yeah, true, true, true.
Tyler Lindenbaum um, actually should go higher in this draft.
When it comes to prospects, like Tyler Lindenbaum he's so much better than the next center in this draft. He also could play basically all over the offensive line if he wanted to. But yeah, this dude is. I know like people are like all scared off because of short arms, but like no, like and he's a little
Yeah.
undersized, but
Well,
I don't understand.
okay.
I mean, he's going to be a Pro Bowler. Like he's going to be the best player at this position for a long time.
So again, there's that word again, undersized. Like how the hell do you determine who's too big, who's too small, woo, woo, woo. Like that's the stuff I will
Well,
never understand.
based on traditional centers in the National Football League, he's considered undersized at
Like well, tradition. Okay, like
6'2",
in the traditional
262,
sense,
296 is a little undersized for what you usually look for when you're a center.
in the tradition, like thank God we don't go by the traditional sense anymore because if that's the case, half the dudes in the NFL wouldn't even be in the NFL or get drafted for that matter, right? If we stuck to the traditional sense, Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson would not be in the NFL, and if they were, if they still did, they'd be out of the league by now. especially Russell Wilson. Or Kyler Murray will be on his way out because they in the traditional sense they're too small to be a quarterback. That like they got to get out of that. Like they seriously do. Tyler Lindenbaum should actually be. Tyler Lindenbaum actually has the potential to go top 10. Right, 13
I
is
would.
no
I think he's a top 10 prospect of this
talent.
draft, talent wise. But center is just not a position drafted so as high as top 10. I'd be shocked when top.
Well, that I think it depends on the team. Like the team need, right?
I mean,
Like
if the Giants fall in love with him, I could see him going there. That's the only place in the top 10 I could see him going. And I guess Atlanta too, but or if Charles Cross and all the good offensive linemen are taken by the time the Seahawks are on the clock at 9, I could see him going there too.
okay, and Drake London, same thing, and like what he had 88 catches his
Yeah, in
last
8
season
games.
there in 8 games.
Yeah. His last season before he broke his ankle, right? He played in 8 games. He had 88 catches for 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns in 8 games.
Okay, do the math. That's
It's like 10 catches
that's 10
and like
catches a
125
game.
yards and like a
That's like
touchdown. Yeah, it's crazy productivity.
that's 11 catches a game, bro.
Yeah,
In 8 games.
yeah. Like his numbers. I think that's why people are talking about him potentially being like a top 5 pick potentially, because I don't think he's had his pro day yet, right?
I know it got pushed back, and we kind of
I still don't think it's happened yet. But due to 6'5", 210 pounds, he led all of college football, even though he missed the latter part of the season with 19 contested catches. So,
well, I think that just kind of shows you where USC was at as a program. Like it was Drake London or bust offensively for them, and USC.
We'll see how their quarterback who at one point we had like a first round grade on him, whatever that guy's name.
Keaton
Slovis.
Slovis.
But I think he transferred out of there. I don't know where he ended up.
I haven't. Well, it kind of got lost in the shuffle because when Caleb Williams made his decision to go there, yeah, you're not going to beat out Caleb Williams. Plus, your current coach was his old coach.
Yeah. Might have a hard time there. But the Slovis, he had a first round grade on him at this point. He just didn't play well.
Did. And
moving on from there, 16 to 20. I got Trevor Penning, tackle out of University of Northern Iowa. Trent Mcduffie out of what you could call cornerback U out of Washington there. Kobe Dean, linebacker, Georgia. James Williams, wide receiver out of Alabama. And George Karlaftis, the edge out of Purdue. Trevor Penning is a good player. High floor, has a strong and powerful frame that overpowered his competition. We'll see what happens when he turns to the NFL. Outside of Link, because he's only 5'8" when it comes to Trent McDuffie, he's got everything you want in a corner. The dude can play bigger than his size. He only allowed 16 catches, 36 targets, on 111 yards, no scores, and 5 pass breakups last year. His combine numbers were also not incredible, but when you watch the tapes of Trent McDuffie, the dude can really play. Kobe Dean, his range at the linebacker is pretty unparalleled for this class. Not only is he straight line fast, but he also possesses the ability to react and adjust with elite quickness. Williams, if he had not torn his ACL in the national championship game, he would be wide receiver 1 without question in this draft. He has the best threat in class, and George Karlaftis is another version of the Greek Freak. He possesses elite athleticism for his size, and is still tapping into his immense pass rushing potential. George Karlaftis is proud to come.
Yeah, I'm just gonna skip right to number 20, George Karlaftis. He ain't getting enough credit.
6'4", 266.
And it's probably because he's in the same conference as Aiden Hutchinson as well as others, but George Karlaftis pretty much lived in the opposing backfield, right? I think for his career, I think they said he had more tackles for loss than Kayvon Thibodeau up at Oregon.
I mean, he also played. He played at least 49 snaps, all but one game. Like the dude is just a straight up Iron Man. So all the questions that you have with Kayvon Thibodeau about his injury, like being able to stay healthy, George Karlaftis has the exact opposite. Like he's literally a versatile Iron Man. You can put him in the middle of the nose tackle, want to, or at defensive tackle, or you can put him at edge. The dude is just a freak of athlete. Like he's just a super athlete.
And like the term Greek freak.
Yeah.
It is like that's him. Like that's his numbers are skewed because he missed a year. Well, and a lot of players missed a year due to the pandemic. Yeah, he only played like 3 games that year, and then he decided to, I'm done. Not going, not playing that. Was it 6? Yeah, 6. What? 6'4".
6'4", 290.
Yeah, right here.
266 pounds.
Right here it says that 6'3 3/4. Man, 6'4". That's 6'4". Get out of here with that new. Like he's 6'4". Who counts 3/4 of an inch towards somebody's height? Like that's like. Do you know how petty you gotta be?
Like, yeah, just give him the 6'4". Let's round. Rounding's fun.
Be like Kevin Durant. Like Kevin Durant's not 7 foot tall. He's 6'10". He's 6'11 3/4. So
I think Kevin Durant likes being under 7 feet tall. Like for some reason, I think Kevin Durant doesn't like being considered a 7-footer. Like there's just something about him. He's like, I don't want to be a 7-footer. Like okay.
I've seen mocks with George Karlaftis going as high as 14 to Baltimore.
So I'm working on one. Not to give too much away for tomorrow. I have him going somewhere in the 20s.
And I think that's where a lot of people have him ranked, like 20 to 25, maybe. But if George Karlaftis was to go to Baltimore at 14, that wouldn't surprise me one. If he was to go top 15, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. I have no issue.
If he was to go higher than Jermaine Johnson and Trayvon Walker in this draft, that wouldn't surprise me. A little more Trayvon Walker, but Jermaine Johnson. If he went higher than Jermaine Johnson in this draft, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
So Trent McDuffie, because of all the attention that Sauce Gardner is gaining or garnered through this draft process, Trent McDuffie can continue to say, hey, yeah, keep sleeping on me. That's great. I love it. Like he's already getting slept on because Washington as a program hasn't been good since like the 90s.
Yeah, true. I mean, the dude was on the field a ton when he his other offense stuff.
Like it's been a long time since Washington has been a good college football team. I have no issue with the rest of the roster, like you said, James. With the rest of the list, James Williams, if he doesn't get hurt, yeah, he's bar none the best receiver in this class, and it's not close.
Right, not 100% not. He would be taking over Garrett Wilson. He'd be taking over Drake London. We're not even having a debate.
And Chris Olave.
Chris Olave is for sure the 4 when it comes to those guys. So, moving on to my final group. We got my first quarterback, my first and only quarterback on this. We got Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty. Trayvon Burke, wide receiver, Arkansas. Kenyan Green, guard, Texas A&M. Daxton Hill, safety out of Michigan, and Andrew Booth Jr., the quarterback out of Clemson. So Malik Willis, he's kind of a matchup with Zach Wilson and Trey Lance. Fast riser is getting more attention for his amazing skill set. We will see what he ends up looking like in the pro when he actually plays in the pro style, like he plays against pro competition, because he didn't play against a lot of pro level players at Liberty. Trayvon Burks, huge target, reliable hands. He did not have a good combine whatsoever, but the dude is just a freak athlete and should be able to dominate the National League, make those contested catches. Kenyan Green, not only be coveted for his serve movement skills, 325-pounder, but he started at every single offensive line position except for center in 2021, and he can get the job done either tackle or guard. Daxton Hill showed up versatility by playing mainly slot for the Wolverine defense. He'll be a safety in the National Football League, some of the best speed in the position. Andrew Booth has fine strength and aggressionism to boost him in coverage. He also has a great ball skills, knows for big plays.
All right, here's where it gets fun because we've seen mocks with Malik Willis going as high as number 2 to Detroit, and we've seen mocks with Malik Willis pretty much all over the board. We've seen him. I just saw one that has him going to New Orleans at 16. Is that that's the earliest pick they have in the first round. I've seen, huh?
Let me double check that. Yeah, their first pick is at 16.
Yeah, I've seen mocks with him going to New Orleans at 16. I've seen mocks with him going to Pittsburgh whenever they pick. And real quick, thoughts and prayers to the family of Dwayne Haskins. That's just no words to describe it. Yeah, thoughts and prayers to his family. And rest in peace, young Simba. My God. But Malik Willis, that's the wild card. Like, the quarterback market will forever be a wild card / crapshoot / whatever you want to call it. I think for a guy like Malik Willis, it definitely depends on where he goes. 100%.
Yeah, and I think if you go somewhere where you can sit behind a James Winston for a couple of years, a season or two, or you can go to somewhere like Pittsburgh and sit behind Trubisky for 2 seasons. Like, he absolutely has to go somewhere. The pressure on him to start right away is not going to be there because he's not ready at all. Like, he just won't be. But he has all the intangibles. When you look at somebody you want to be a franchise quarterback. I mean, he's got the big arm. He's mobile. Really play.
So, and I think he's the. Would you say he's not? He's actually not the only quarterback with question marks. Because
they all do. None of them are.
They all do.
There's no Trevor Lawrence in this draft. There's not a Justin Herbert in this draft. There's no Tua Tagovailoa, even though he had question marks. Like, there's none of those guys in this draft. Like, there's no Joe Burrow in this class. Like, there's just none of those guys. There's a lot more of like.
I will say this. I am surprised you have him higher than Kenny Pickett.
I think Malik Willis' upside, his ceiling, I think, is much higher than Kenny Pickett's. Where I would say Kenny Pickett's floor is much higher than. Like, if you ask me which one of those two guys I think has a higher chance of being a bust, I think it's Malik Willis. But I think there's a guy who has a better chance of being a Pro Bowler and potentially a Hall of Famer. I think it's.
So okay, and that's the question that people ask. Like, that's the reason why, like, that's exactly why teams like the Bears take a Trubisky over a Deshaun Watson. Like, they think the upside and potential to be great is worth the risk. Versus if he's a bust, then it's just, oh well, on to the next one. It's the same reason why KC moved up 10 slots to get Pat Mahomes. Even in that situation, Mahomes had the city year, but that, to me, that's the exception. That's the exception to the rule. Right? Everybody saw what KC did and think, all right, if I get a guy like that, I can sit him for a year and then throw him. Like, no, you're not. Everybody doesn't have that because your head coach is not.
City was people forget that Alex Smith was good in Kansas, right? People forget that. Alex Smith was good in Kansas City. Like, they went to the playoffs every year.
Alex Smith was winning 10, 11, 12 games a year when he was there in Kansas City.
Done in the playoffs. I mean,
and not to mention, your head coach isn't Andy Reid. Your tight end isn't Travis Kelce.
Not the best player at his position ever.
Trayvon Burke, another receiver that's kind of getting lost in the shuffle because even though you have him higher than Chris Olave, people are talking about Chris Olave over him. They're talking about Jameson Williams over him and Garrett Wilson over him. So Trayvon Burke, again, if I'm any player like Trayvon Burke or Trent Mcduffie, any player like that, keep talking about those other guys. I'm just going to continue to lie low. Not lie low like literally, but, I'm just going to continue to work, grind it out, Same thing with
I mean,
Kenyan Green. Nope.
Trayvon Burke is 6'2", 225 pounds. Like, the dude is just built to be an NFL wide receiver.
Like Daxton Hill, right? Everybody's talking about his teammate. Everybody's talking about Aiden Hudson. Okay, cool. I'm gonna just work.
He's probably the second best safety in this draft after Kyle Hamilton. But the gap between him and Kyle Hamilton
is substantial. I 100% get that.
It is.
Like Kyle Hamilton again, number one on your board, 6'4", 220, just a flat out monster, right? Has the potential to be like Honey Badger mixed with Bob Sanders.
Yeah.
Just hope he stays healthy.
Yeah, I mean he has Jamal Adams type potential. Like, he could even be better than Jamal Adams. Like, that's how good this Kyle Hamilton for sure be.
And if you're Kyle Hamilton, like as you get older, like if your career progresses that way to the point where you're allowed to have a substantial career, you can, like, because of your height, you can transition to linebacker, like Jamal Adams is going to do in a couple years, because his range of, like, his coverage skills are gonna diminish, right? Receivers get faster, you get slower, you just transition to linebacker. I do that in Madden all the time. That's a video game, but it works. And Andrew Booth,
Yes, 6 feet, 194 pounds. He got exposed a little bit this season, but that Clemson team was their defense at least was on the football field a lot more than they've ever been in their.
Well, Clemson went through something that obviously was kind of expected. Like, you were so spoiled for like 6 years, right? You get Deshaun Watson for his career, and then you just graduate from Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence, and the amount of talent that those two guys had to work with. Like, yeah, there was a reason you were in the title picture for 6 years, 7 years, however long you had those guys, right? Where Clemson has always had pro guys. Like, you got to keep in mind, that was the same team that had DeAndre Hopkins and oh my God, who was his running mate? Yeah, Taj Boyd. Mike
Williams. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Like, they had hella talent. They just couldn't get over the hump because their quarterback play was terrible. Right? Everybody was questioning Dabo Swinney as, like, you've had all this talent, you can't get over the hump. Then he gets a quarterback like Deshaun Watson. It's like, now Dabo Swinney is a good coach. So you go through all that winning, and now you're basically back to square one, because DJU, talented quarterback, just needs to put it all together. Right? So you're hoping this year is a big year for Clemson and DJU, because, like you said, their defense was on the field a lot. They lost some games they had no business losing. Then they were in some close games.
I'm looking at this DJU guy. Man, how do you pronounce this?
That's why he goes. That's why people call him DJU.
Jeez, man, like I don't even have a guess. Like, jeez, that's a doozy. But yeah, Kenyan. That's the last guy we have to tell you. But Andrew Booth Jr. Yeah, he's got all the intangibles to be a top flight corner. He's got the size. He's got the speed. It's too bad that he was injured and he couldn't really perform at the combine. But hopefully, he did a good job with the interview process. That's what it's really going to boil down to. Because all he needs is one team to fall in love with.
I think it's DJ Ukulele. I have to hear it. If I hear
it, you know who can pronounce it. Busy with here. Anyways, but then the last guy we have, really, Kenyan Green. It just gives you so much versatility on your offensive line when you're looking for a guy like Kenyan Green who can come in and play all of your offensive line.
So my question to you, when you were making your top 25, right, obviously this is in certain positions, this is a deep draft. Like, this is a deep receiver draft. This is a deep DB draft. This is a deep offensive lineman draft. And you can argue it's a deep edge rushing draft. How hard was it to pick certain guys over the others? Like, how hard was it to pick Trayvon Burke over Chris Olave?
Pretty hard, because their measurables are very similar. Obviously, Trayvon Burke is a little bit bigger of a wide receiver. But I just look for those bigger wide receivers to do better in the National Football League as opposed possession receivers that Chris Olave is going to be. Even though it's only 2 inches high, it's really not a lot. But yeah, it's also like, whenever you list like this, the last like 5 prospects are always the most difficult ones because you got to decide if you like these guys. Like I'm not even sure Malik Willis is a top 25 prospect. But
Okay.
I felt like he needed to put a quarterback.
You didn't have to, right?
No,
Okay. So what you just said, right? Like you said you felt the need to put a quarterback in the top 25. That again, that's the quarterback. That's the QB bias that we live in.
yeah, you're not wrong. I'm not denying it either. That's just the way it goes sometimes.
Right?
Like
Like you can make the
quarterbacks get
argument.
overvalued and they get overdrafted.
Like you can make the argument like this is arguably the worst quarterback class in what would you say?
I mean, it might be worse if that Blake Bortles draft class or the one where the one that the Buffalo took. What's his name? The kid from Florida State.
EJ Manuel.
Yeah, AJ Manuel. That draft class that was terrible.
That was
terrible
bad.
draft class. Even before he came into it, was bad.
So I think like I would love to do, like I should have did one, but like I said, I was dead to the world and not really thinking about it. I also think that's why you do 5, 6, 7 different mock drafts because
things change.
you
Like the layout of an NFL draft changes constantly. So I'm going to say, yeah, it's probably the worst draft class since 2013. The quarterbacks in that draft class were the first one was EJ Manuel at 16. I don't think there were another quarterback. EJ Manuel was taken at 16. That he was the only quarterback in the round that year. Also, quarterbacks in the draft class. Geno Smith was taken in the second round.
Yeah. So like, it was a lot of quarterbacks in that draft class who had first round grades, but didn't get drafted in the first. Like everybody thought EJ Manuel
was a 3rd round pick. Matt Barkley was a 4th round pick. Ryan Nassib was a 4th round pick to the Giants. Tyler Wilson, 4th round pick. Landry Jones, 4th round pick. Brad Sorensen, it was a quarterback, 7th round pick. Zach Dysert, also in the 7th round. AJ Daniels, like Sean Renfree, quarterback, 7th round. I mean, yeah, it's not a good, really not a good draft class when it comes to quarterback. None of those guys even made a Pro Bowl.
So like that's what it is, right? Of your top 25, all right, from 15 to 25, who do you have from 15 to 25? Like who do you think from your starting at 15 all the way down to 25? Who do you think has the potential to move up, and who do you think will drop?
So I mean, I think Nakobe Dean could potentially fall out of the first round. His other linebacker that's running with him, Walker, Quay Walker, is kind of somebody who's trending up.
Okay.
I think George Kalafis could. I'm going to go George Kalafis. I think if anybody in this group of 15 through 25, if any of them are going to jump up their draft stock into the top 10, I think it's going to be George Kalafis. I wouldn't be shocked if he's top 10. Everybody else, I think they're going to be probably where I am.
I like that. Again, because of the wild card that is Malik Willis, like you said, like people are drafting Malik Willis on potential, right? And because, so like you said, his ceiling could potentially be higher than Kenny Pickett's, but Kenny Pickett's floor is higher than his floor. So Kenny Pickett, for a lot of teams, is going to be a safe pick at quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Because Kenny Pickett has the option to be the best quarterback in this draft. Desmond Ritter, who I've seen go in like the late first, early second, is
it wouldn't shock me at all if the Detroit Lions were sitting there at 32 and they take Desmond.
And I don't get how Desmond Ritter, who did what he did at Cincinnati, is lower than Malik Willis. I don't get that.
I think it's because I'm not actually 100% sure. I mean, when you look at Malik Willis and his big arm and the cannon he has for a throwing arm, I think that's probably what has to
And I take that with a grain of salt because at the combine, like yeah, like you have a big arm, but you're throwing with no arm restriction,
yeah.
right? That's
I mean,
why, like, say what you want about him as a pro, but Johnny Manziel at his pro day, what did he do? He threw his shoulder pads on, and I'm like, that's fucking smart because that's actually how you're gonna throw
mean, Jamarcus Russell was able to throw the football 70+ yards
on a
from his
knee.
knees.
And
And
what different?
how did that translate to the National Football League? Not that well. Not well at all.
Like we
He's
see
one of the biggest
kickers,
busts in history.
like we see videos of kickers all the time kicking 70-yard field goals. It's like that's not real because you're not gonna kick a 70-yard field goal in a game. It's not.
Yeah.
You're not. It's pointless. But that was
But
like your top 25 was very interesting. I just wouldn't put Kyle Hamilton at one. I understand why you did. On part of it being your big board, like it's your big board, right? I'm not gonna say, oh, you're stupid because you got Kyle Hamilton number one. Like, no, that's your big board, right? Would I have
I
number
just
one?
think
Probably
when it comes to Kyle Hamilton, if I had to pick one player that I was sure was going to be good in this draft, he's the guy. Like I don't have any questions that he's going to be good. Zero. Like,
and I have no issue with that. That's a safe bet. Like you have to pick one player to be like, all right, this guy's going to be a multi-time Pro Bowler. He's going to be everything.
Kyle
Right?
Hamilton.
Kyle Hamilton.
Like he's for sure going to be good. Like I have no worries at all. But yeah, let me know what you think about my top 25 big board. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so I appreciate the feedback. Whatever you guys on YouTube, Facebook, or on the Twitch platform that we use as well. We'll be back here tomorrow doing a mock draft. Christian's going to be joining us. We'll do that right on this podcast when he's available.
I'm gonna propose. It's an NBA trade. I'm gonna propose it to you guys in the group chat just to see what how you feel about it.
Okay. We'll be back here tomorrow doing some mock draft stuff because the NFL draft is only like 2 weeks away. Coming up here now, I think it's like less than 16 days away, so we don't want to miss that content. I'm been David Huffman right there. This is TJ Hopkins. And TJ, what we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat.
Yes, sir, we do. And I will see you tomorrow, brother. You have a good night.
You too, man.